Could nuclear weapons save the planet? I'm going to give you 5 seconds to think about that before I continue. At the most, something like 65,000 nuclear weapons existed worldwide. 65,000 in the 1980s. Today, there are only 16,000 nuclear weapons left in the world. That is better than 65,000, but it's still 16,000 too many. The development of these atomic bombs was the start of the nuclear era, the arms race, but also, luckily, the civil use of nuclear power. A lot of the pro-nuclears, many of my colleagues around the world, would normally never, ever talk about nuclear weapons and nuclear energy at the same time. And I understand the reason, because very often I've experienced that people only sort of possess one file in their brain which is labeled nuclear. And that nuclear file contains everything bad. It's weapons, and it's radiation, and it's death, and not very nice things. And the fact is that when it comes to nuclear energy or weapons, there are some things that are exactly the same for a bomb and a reactor. And there are definitely things that are very, very different. So I'm going to start with the similar and talk a little physics. One issue with nuclear power, however, is that you will get these long-lived radioactive wastes. And that radioactive waste is actually made not from the fissile uranium. It's made from that other type of uranium, the uranium-238. So how could we solve that problem? Because we could do even better than the megatons to megawatts program. If we mix this with thorium, the forgotten element. Thorium is an element that was discovered by a Swede in Norway and named after the Norse god of thunder, Thor. Thorium is an element that is not fissile in itself. But if you mix it with something that is fissile, something like weapons uranium, for example, you can make excellent fuel out of it. And, well, that's the same thing that happens if you take this, as I already told you about, with taking weapons uranium and mixing it with natural uranium. So why would you use the thorium then? Well, first of all, you have 4 times more thorium in the world than you have uranium. That's one reason. But more importantly, when you mix the weapons uranium with thorium, well, you're of course destroying the weapons, that's nice. But with thorium, some of the thorium will be regenerated into fissile uranium, actually. So you are sort of regenerating and making more fuel than you are burning. That sounds in a way almost too good to be true, but it's actually is true. And that means that you can also recycle the spent fuel. And that means that you don't get the same problem with waste. The waste problem is very, very low. So the megatons to megawatts project is great. But mixing thorium with highly enriched uranium, that is awesome. So, recycle, 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 recycle. We've all heard about recycling. But normally, that's not what we talk about when we talk about nuclear. So, recycle. We could recycle all the 16,000 nuclear weapons into climate-neutral fuel. And if we mix it with thorium, we can also recycle this fuel and get rid of the waste problem. So, could nuclear weapons save the planet? Well, not on its own, but, well, one point is that if there are 16,000 nuclear weapons in the world, they could at least, if maybe not destroy the planet totally, they can make a lot of fuss. So by destroying these weapons, you are sort of saving the planet in doing that. But even better, you get this emission-free, clean energy. So I like nuclear energy, and I don't like nuclear weapons. And today, in those 16,000 nuclear weapons, it's the same as 1,400 tons of highly enriched uranium. So that's about 3 times the amount of what was converted into fuel in this megatons to megawatts program. So if we just did it the same way that they did, that would mean that we would get, well, 6 years of the total electricity use of the US. But that's sort of if we do it in the worst possible way, because I've said that we could do this much better. Maybe we could get it 10 times better, maybe even 100 times better. And then we're starting to talk. So, a nuclear weapon is ugly. But by mixing the fissile material in it with uranium or thorium, it can be changed into beautiful nuclear fuel. And that is, in my book, one step towards saving the planet. Thank you.